The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, a new totem pole is raised at the University of British Columbia. Transport Canada announces new drone regulations. And Once Upon a Time brings tourists to Steveston. Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Nicole. And I'm Johnnie Smart. Over 1,000 people gathered at the University of British Columbia for the raising of a new reconciliation totem pole. And as my co-anchor Nicole explains, the pole shares the impact of the residential school system.
After 2 years of work and a journey from Haida to Vancouver, the reconciliation pole is ready to be raised. The 55-foot totem pole tells the story of Canada's Indigenous peoples and the impact of the Indian residential school program. It was carved from an 800-year-old cedar tree by Haida master carver James Hart.
Come forward. There were 6 of us working on it at home. That's for over 2 years. And then down here there's 4 of us. And then we got some help with the different children there, the different artists from across country come out for a representation.
Thousands of copper nails have been hammered into the pole. They represent the children who died in residential schools. Many of the nails were hammered into the pole by residential school survivors and their families.
It's a big part of Canadian history. Canada doesn't have such a bright past in that regard, and I believe here really showcases that, but also it pays respects to the time before, and then it also talks about the future and togetherness and how a world can be.
The pole was blessed as part of a traditional Haida ceremony. After that, crews and more than 800 people helped raise the pole to the sky.
That's good, just let her come even now. Slack off a little bit, Rick, it's swinging your way.
It faces downtown Vancouver and the future site of the Indian Residential School History and Dialogue Centre. The centre will house records and is set to open in the next year. Nicole out in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
In today's high-pressure newsrooms, there are more demands on reporters than ever. Our Jacob Hall spoke to industry professionals about the changes that could be coming in the future. Jacob, I understand you spoke to executives at Global National.
Yes, I spoke to the managing editor, Tristan Stadden, who says that despite technological advances, there's still room for improvement.
I think it expands the lens of the stories you're able to tell. If you're able to put a live source in any place with anyone, it gives you the opportunity to access stories or communities or people, sites that, satellite trucks and larger pieces of older technology can't get to.
What are some of the options available to journalists?
Well, mobile journalists have been using Facebook and Periscope Live, but 2 local entrepreneurs that I spoke to are trying to enter their way into the live streaming universe.
When we saw things like Periscope and Facebook Live coming out, allowing people to broadcast from their cell phones, we saw that the technology was ready to live stream from cell phones, but the quality on these other platforms was very poor. And so we had the idea, if we could take a feed from a professional camera and use the cell phone to broadcast because we saw how expensive, once we started looking into some of these other technologies, we saw how expensive and out of reach they were.
While Stream might not be ready for a big newsroom like Global, having the ability to stream 4K quality off an Android will be appealing to some newsrooms in the future. Back to you guys.
Transport Canada announced new drone regulations last week, which will impact many drone enthusiasts. The new regulations will mean users can't fly their drones within 9 kilometers of a hospital or a helipad. It also says they cannot be flown within 75 meters of a building, a car, people, or animals, which means most of the Lower Mainland is a no-fly zone. Abbotsford resident and BCIT student Curtis Colmer thinks it's a lot easier to find places to fly his drone around Burnaby rather than in Abbotsford.
Well, it abides by all the rules, and it's really empty at this time of the day, which I like to fly by because I have a break from school, and it's not close to any buildings or hospitals.
Colmer says although the app for the drone does tell you if you are in a no-fly zone, you can easily bypass the warnings and continue to fly.
Transit improvements have become a focal point of the upcoming provincial election. Despite $4.4 billion in investments from the federal and provincial governments into the transit system, Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson says he wants the entire 10-year program to be funded fully.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, BCIT students are set to vote on a brand new student building.
And a diner in Mission is experiencing the Riverdale boom.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Chelisa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettenero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. The BCIT Student Association is looking at building a new student center on the Burnaby campus. This would mean more study space and greater food options. But as my co-anchor Johnnie Smart reports, these amenities won't come without compromise.
BCIT students may initially see their tuition fees go up by $40 a semester to fund a building that won't be accessible for several years.
A lot of students are wondering why they want to start putting money forward to something that they're not going to end up getting to use. But at the same time, a lot of them recognize that there's a need.
I'll be leaving next year, so obviously I won't be seeing it at all. That being said, the people before us voted for things that they didn't see either. So I think it's kind of one of those things you have to pass along.
Over 880 survey responses indicated that students want more study space, more group meeting rooms, additional food choices, and 24/7 access. When it comes to getting work done on the Burnaby campus here at BCIT, many students turn to the library or the APOD. And while most students agree they would like to see more study space, the hefty price point and the timeline for construction are both causes for concern.
Optimally, we're looking at around the 5 to 6 to 7 years to kind of have this building kind of created and actually there that students can use.
People that are coming back don't really want to pay extra money because they think those resources, they think we already have them all. I don't really have an opinion, but the voice of most of my class don't really want it.
We came to the number of about $38.5 million is what it would cost to make a building that is adequate for all the needs and services that would be required in this building to make students happy.
Of the approved referendum since 2001, BCIT has designed a health plan, implemented the U-Pass, renovated the pub, and renewed other buildings. Before a final decision is made, a vote is being held this week to determine whether or not students approve the structure. Johnnie Smart in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Our producer Robyn Crawford sat down with Student Association President Matt May to talk about the upcoming referendum.
Hello and welcome. We're here with Student Association President Matt May, and we are talking about the referendum for a new student center. Now, Matt, my first question, and I think that a lot of students are wondering this, is at BCIT, the most that you're really here is about 2 years. So the new student center, it's going to be built in 7. So why, for someone who's only going to be here for 2 years, why should I care about this new building going up?
Totally, and it's a perfectly valid question. A lot of students have this when we're going tabling and asking around about the referendum. The main kind of driver for a building like this is that you can't build a building in 2 years. It's not feasible to do all of the proper collaboration work and then shovels in the ground and making that happen. So yeah, it will take about 7 years. The reason that we're asking students to put down that voice of support now is kind of a pay it forward motion. Historically, we've passed referendums to the SA in the past for a number of different services, like our UPass program, the health and dental program, career services, entrepreneurship. A lot of these things we wouldn't have right now. It wouldn't be possible if the students from previous years didn't vote and voice their support for those kinds of initiatives. So if thinking forward, to think that those students need that space on campus and to give their support now to help the SA kind of build that capital to make this dream a reality, I think that's kind of one of the main drivers for students today to vote yes.
I can see that you're clearly very passionate about this new student center. Why particularly are you?
Well, I hear from students all the time, not just my time here, but at other universities, that space is constantly an issue. When you get to midterms or final season, you will not be able to find a place to study, apart from like the floor next to your locker kind of thing. That's kind of at a capacity right now. Students are struggling to find just space to organize, like a lot of our club activities. There's a lot of competing equities in terms of space and proper venues for them to host their events. We don't have any of that really here on campus. And to bring that onto campus, it's not going to happen through provincial funding, because by and large a lot of that is through programmed for academia. Not a lot of stuff would be from student space. So for students to kind of voice support and really just say that they want this space on campus, that's what we're hearing, and that's why we're pushing this referendum so strongly.
Why not upgrade other buildings? Why make a new building?
There's a number of issues with upgrading and retrofitting an old building. First and foremost is that it really constrains us to space on campus. We don't know where it's going to be, and it really limits us to those buildings that are kind of slated for demolition. The second thing is from the input that we've got from students over the last year is that they really want an environmentally sustainable building. And the cost to retrofit a building to kind of get up to that standard is probably going to be very expensive, and it pigeonholes you into a few scenarios where that building may not be best suited for student space or club space on campus. So to kind of start fresh with a brand new building, I think that would help us achieve the best end goal at the end of the day.
So where can people vote for this referendum?
So they can vote on My BCIT from April 6th, starting at 9 a.m., going all the way until the next Thursday, April 13th, at 2 p.m. And then we'll have the results shortly thereafter on that Thursday.
Okay. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you.
Nominations for BCIT's upcoming student elections are now closed. The campaign period for candidates is from April 18th to May 1st.
Have you ever read an Archie comic and wanted to grab a burger at Pop's Chocolate Shop? A local diner is offering customers a chance to eat in the same booths as their favorite Riverdale character. Nick Arthur has more.
Rocco's Diner in Mission was the site of Pop's Chocolate Shop for the CW's new hit series, Riverdale.
Nail in the coffin that is Riverdale.
The show was based off the Archie comics and was filmed all locally throughout BC's Lower Mainland. And since its January launch, Rocco's owner Debbie Schiller and Kelly Sullivan say it's attracted fans from all over.
People will literally stand and wait, and I want that booth. And then they stop the servers and they want pictures taken and stuff, so.
Yeah.
We've never had that before.
No.
Rocco's waitress for over 30 years, Betty Rose, says she's never seen anything like it before.
Everybody from everywhere comes here.
And then they want to all run around and get all the pictures taken wherever the actors were, all over the restaurant. Some of them want you to, can you take our picture here? You know, oh yeah, all the time.
The show was awarded a second season less than a month ago, and although they might not be returning to Rocco's, Sullivan says it's pretty neat to see the set they created, which mimics their diner.
The whole building, so you can pretty much drive by it. It's on the other side of the Golden Ears Bridge, I think, on the highway one side. But yeah, it looks just like Rocco's from the outside and the inside.
And Schiller and Sullivan are both fans of the show.
I mean, it's kind of cool. They took the concept, they took the names, they took the location, and then they just put a whole new storyline to it. Because, yeah, Archie was not hot. Like.
Although Riverdale returning to Rocco's for filming is unlikely, Schiller and Sullivan are looking forward to future filming opportunities. Nick Arthur in Mission for BCIT Magazine.
Fans of ABC's hit TV show Once Upon a Time are flocking to the Steveston film set. As Falaki Adasuba found out, tourists are feeling the magic.
This is the Steveston community in the city of Richmond, and it is also the town of Storybrooke from the TV series Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time has just rounded up shooting its 6th season here. It is drawing people to the heart of Steveston. Now, why is that? Right behind me is Dr. Hopper's psychiatrist office, who Regina visits also often in the show. Right in front of me is the famous Granny's Diner. Not so far on the right is Mr. Gold's shop, and of course Storybrooke's Public Library right up on the left. This is Steveston Cannery Cafe, used as Granny's bed and breakfast diner. Fans of the show travel from different areas, including out of town, just to get the feel of being here.
No, I live in Monroe, Washington, actually. I really thought that it was like over in Maine, and then I found out it was here, and I got really excited. So I made my kids come along with me because I'm a huge fan.
Samantha is not the only one visiting today. So is this 9-year-old dancer from Surrey, who's recovering from a hip surgery.
They told me just a little bit of dancing, and I got pretty sad, but now I'm happy. It's so cool to be here. I ordered the Granny Special, Henry's Hot Chocolate, and a grilled cheese sandwich.
Almost $300 million was spent and almost $500 million was made in the making of the show. In comparison, the amount made from all 5 seasons of Once Upon a Time is roughly equivalent to the hosting of the FIFA Women's World Cup 8 times.
It's an actual place, and so they get to come down and not only enjoy a lot of the landmarks that they might see, like Granny's Diner, for example, or Storybrooke Breads, but they'll find out a lot of other things about Steveston.
Before Once Upon a Time began production, Steveston was looking to stimulate its tourism sector and distinguish itself from other communities. Falaki Adasuba in Steveston for BCIT Magazine.
Canuck the Crow was released from a bird hospital this week. He was brought home by his human friend Sean Bergman and set free in his East Vancouver neighborhood. The well-known crow was attacked with a flagpole at a soccer game last week. He is wildly popular on social media, with over 45,000 Facebook followers rejoicing his return.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, we find out more about the growing world of cosplay.
And we look at the scoring race in the NHL.
I chose BCIT because I know that all the programs are very hands-on. We have our own radio station. Like it's one of the best programs that I've ever heard of.
I am starting a job on Monday, so confidence is high.
Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be this fun.
Standby graphics, ready camera one.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news,
today on BCIT Magazine, striking,
make magic on a movie set,
frame,
and action, or bring your creative ideas to life, BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
City Square is having their annual Easter celebration with an Easter bunny, egg hunt, magic show, giggle booth, and a whole lot more. It takes place at City Square on April 8th between noon and 3 p.m. It's a lot of fun for the kids and the whole family.
The Stanley Park Easter train starts next weekend, but this weekend you can enjoy a free preview. The Stanley Park Eastern Train preview runs from April 8th to 9th and will include spring blossoms and bunnies along the train ride.
The annual Capture Photography Festival celebrates and promotes art and lens-based art throughout Metro Vancouver. The event takes place at locations all across the city between now and April 28th. It aims to promote and showcase local, international, and emerging artists.
Want to get to know some bird watching basics? The Colony Farm Park Association is holding its Birding for Beginners. Come out and get to know all the various birds in the park.
Welcome back. Many aspects of the so-called geek culture are becoming more mainstream and appeal to people of all ages. Our reporter Paulina Wu has more on a particular hobby that has surged in popularity.
These are cosplayers, and they take their craft seriously.
Cosplay means a lot of things to a lot of different people. Really, it boils down to the emotion you put into it. A lot of it is dressing up, having a model to go by, whether it's movies, video games, anime. But a lot of it is having fun, that creative aspect, and really putting yourself out there.
A combination of the words costume and play, cosplay is a unique form of performance art. Cosplayers take their knowledge of a character and essentially aim to become who they're dressing up as. For some, it has become a business venture.
I probably would never have gotten into it as like a real hobby or like a real business if a lot of my friends hadn't said, hey, you know what, I really like your stuff. I would totally pay you for it. You know, why aren't you selling this stuff? And I have this. My grandfather died in the middle of making them, and these are the last project that he really, really liked. Accessories like pins.
Most cosplayers are self-taught. They are their own seamstresses and tailors, hair and makeup artists, and also prop makers.
I keep telling myself I don't want to make bodysuits anymore, but I keep doing it. I think I've always enjoyed making stuff. Didn't like sewing for a really long time, but that was something I'd grown into loving because at the time I just didn't understand it as well, but now the more I understand it, it's more like, oh, it's just one big puzzle. So for me, it's like a growing process, being more creative, learning to get better at something. I think it's such a social thing.
There are a lot of really positive people and a lot of positive experiences.
Whether it's to overcome shyness or for enjoying the attention, the art of cosplay boils down to paying tribute to something these artists really love. Paulina Wu in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
We are now joined by our reporter Paulina Wu. Paulina, what goes into preparing for a cosplay?
In the most comfortable time frame, it can take months to create something. One of the girls I talked to, Chelisa, she made a prop for herself that took 8 months to perfect.
And when's the next big event for cosplayers?
Though it's not specifically a geek convention, we'll probably see some next week at Sakura Days Japan Fair, but after that, we won't be seeing any until early July. Back to you.
A rare pink diamond dazzled at Sotheby's auction house in Hong Kong this week. It sold for a record-breaking $71.2 million. The rare gem known as Pink Star is the largest flawless pink diamond ever graded.
Work on the replacement bridge for the Massey Tunnel began this week, and protesters were on scene to have their say. The $3.5 billion bridge is expected to have 10 lanes, and the province estimates the average commuter will save about 20 minutes a day.
The NHL Scoring Race is shaping up to be a tight one. We're now joined by our sports reporter Brady Trettenero to look at the frontrunners.
The NHL regular season is winding down, and the scoring race is coming down to the wire. Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, and Patrick Kane are all the frontrunners at this point, and they've all played instrumental roles with their team's success. Leading the league in scoring is impressive, but it's time to start thinking about who was the MVP this season. Here's a look into the candidates. Not enough can be said about Connor McDavid. The young phenom smashed the 90-point mark and led the Oilers back into the playoffs for the first time in a long time. He's been involved in over 40% of the team's goals this year and has brought excitement back into the city of Edmonton. Sidney Crosby is also in the Hart Trophy conversation as he's put together another fantastic season with the Penguins. The Pittsburgh forward already has 2 Hart trophies to his name, and he currently leads the league in goals. He's done some sensational things this season, including scoring a remarkable one-handed backhand goal and scoring goals from just impossible angles. Another great candidate for MVP is defenseman Brent Burns of the San Jose Sharks. His 28 goals are more than many NHL teams have from their entire defense corps combined. He's one of the most feared blue liners in the NHL, and he's outscoring so many forwards, and he's a blue liner. It's important to note that the Hart Trophy isn't awarded to the NHL's best player, it's awarded to the player who's most valuable to his team. With that being said, it's hard to argue against Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers. Take away Sidney Crosby from the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Penguins are still the Penguins. They're still making the playoffs. Take away Connor McDavid from the Oilers, and the city of Edmonton is going to have to wait even longer to get back into the postseason. That right there makes Connor McDavid your 2017 Hart Trophy Memorial winner. The NHL will not be participating in the 2018 South Korea Olympics. The league announced this decision this week following lengthy negotiations with the IIHF and IOC. Several NHL players, including Capitals star captain Alex Ovechkin, has said he's still going to compete in the international competition.
It's their plan, so again, for us as a player, so we want to go there and represent our countries. It's probably the biggest thing in the whole world.
The World Men's Curling Championship is underway in Edmonton this week. Canada's Brad Gushue is looking to add a world championship to his 2006 Olympic gold medal. The gold medal game takes place on Sunday, April 9th.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca.
Thank you for watching BCIT Magazine. I'm Nicole Loud.
And I'm Johnnie Smart. We leave you now with drone footage over Burnaby's Deer Lake Park.